Welcome to Focus Today. I'm your host, Perry Atkinson, and delighted to have back in the studio with us today Terry Rasmussen. He's the president of Redemption Ridge. We've had Terry in about this ministry before, and things are gearing up, and they are really doing a great job. In fact, a special event coming up. So, Terry, nice to have you back.
Thank you.
Good to see you.
Great to be here.
For those who don't know about Redemption Ridge, give us an update on the outreach and the project.
Well, the project is building a shelter for teen victims of human trafficking, sex trafficking, which is going on in our streets. This is not something just going on in third world countries. It's happening in America, big time, and especially in Oregon. Oregon is one of the leading states for human trafficking in the nation. So there are no beds in the state of Oregon for teens that have been trafficked. They come out, they've been traumatized. Their tendency is to go right back to the pimp or the person who's victimizing them, because there's no place for them to go. Right. And what we're trying to do is open a shelter to where they can come in, get some counseling, get a safe place to live, and I don't want to use the word rehabilitation so much, but you do. You want to take them through the process of healing. And some of these kids actually have been raised in a home of abuse. That's the reason that they're vulnerable to human trafficking. So you're actually trying to show them that life can actually be a different way, that what they know as a norm doesn't have to be.
Wow. All right, I know you're working on a facility here in Southern Oregon, and how do you get these girls? How do you find them, and how do they come to your shelter?
Typically, we don't do the finding. What will happen is we're working with authorities, whether it's DHS, law enforcement, FBI, word of mouth, for the girls that are being trafficked. They're struggling. All the authorities are struggling because they don't really have a safe place to put them. What they do quite often is they'll charge them with a crime, which will give them the opportunity to hold them. But all that does is re-victimize the child, because really they're victims. They're not criminals. Anything that they've done, they have done illegally, pretty much because they've been forced to by an adult. So, but that is one of the tactics, is to charge them with a crime so that they can hold them and have their testimony, if need be. But that becomes a whole other issue when they're being incarcerated.
I don't think we realized, and you said Oregon's one of the leading states, but how big the problem is. I've had some of the testimonies on the air, as you well know, but that whole lifestyle and how they're abducted and get into it is just, it's almost beyond our ability to comprehend. But how big is the problem here in Southern Oregon?
Well, the problem is knowing how big the problem is anywhere. Nationally, it's believed that there's around 300,000 victims annually of human trafficking in minors, not even counting the adults. Really? The problem is it's done on the internet, it's done underground, and knowing the exact numbers is very difficult. There's an organization in Portland working in this human trafficking realm, and they said that for every victim that they talk to, that they bring in, that there's probably 4 or 5 other victims out there that the child can name off that they've had no contact with. So as big as whatever number we think it is probably bigger than we can figure out, simply because, number one, it's hard to identify. That's the whole idea, is to keep them. The other thing is they don't self-identify. Right. So they don't see themselves as victims. Yeah, and they're on the move all the time. They're all constantly on the move. They're on a track up and down the I-5. It's called the West Coast Kiddie Track. They move them up and down from the Canadian border to the Mexican border, from town to town to town, to keep them disoriented, to keep law enforcement from being able to track them very well and come in and do anything about it. Wow.
An incredible thing. Well, God bless you. I don't know, how did you get called into this? I mean, what in the world got a hold of you?
The way most of us men get involved in things, our wives. My wife went to an awareness event 3 years ago, roughly, and came home shocked at what she had learned. There's a detective out of Portland who'd come down to share. And so we got to looking at it, and the deeper we looked into it and found out how bad the problem was, the more you sat there and said, you know, if that was my daughter, I couldn't sit on the sidelines. Right. And I'm not going to sit on the sidelines.
Well, the other thing we find out, we know that the abductions that take place, and they come up missing, And then they show up in this world.
Yes, there are abductions, but that's not the typical way that they get. They're actually lured into it.
Yeah.
See, the typical girl that gets lured into this is struggling with self-esteem issues anyway. They're mostly, 90% of them have come from abusive families in one way or another.
Wow.
So the pimp, the trafficker, is looking for the down-and-out girl.
And they know the signs.
They know the signs.
Right.
These guys are master manipulators.
Yeah.
They'll go to high school events, parties, whatever, win them over, begin a dating relationship with them, tell them how beautiful they are, tell them all the things that a girl would want to hear that she's never heard.
Right.
Treat her in a way that she's never been treated, love on her, buy her things, take care of her nails, her hair. The girl thinks her ship has come in. This is Mr. Romeo, and typically the guy is in his 20s, mid-20s, early 30s, and she's 13, 14, and so she's being wooed by this older man, and she can't believe this is happening. It is so romantic, and it's so wonderful, and he has this cool car outside, and she gets lured into it, and as soon as she leaves with him, because this is the guy for her, and he wants to separate her from the family, they drive off together, and that's the last you see him for a while, and he turns her out and forces her into trafficking.
All right. Where are you in the process in the shelter? And I know you have an event coming up on August 3rd. I want to get both those covered real quick here.
The shelter, we just obtained a conditional use permit, which we needed in order to use it.
All right.
So we're going to begin working on the plans. You talk about a plan for a house, and it's kind of like, how do you want it to happen?
Right.
When you're working on plans for a shelter like this, you have to get the plans approved through Department of Human Services, DHS,
Right.
the fire department, Jackson County, and the city that it's in. So there's 4 approval processes you have to go through. And so as we plan this thing out, it not only has to function for the home, which we're doing a lot of research as to what's the best layout, looking at other shelters, but also how do we make it pass all these different entities. And
so you're in that process.
Yeah, we're in the brainstorming as far as how the layout's going to work. Ken Snelling, local architect, is going to be helping us with the design on that. And so we're in that process, but we're also in the fundraising process. These things, like anything, like your ministry, cost money.
Right.
So that's what we're building that base.
All right, so you got a run and a dinner coming up August 3rd, and you got room for more runners?
We have room for lots of runners.
Okay.
We have a good group of runners, well over 100 runners taking place now. But I don't think we really have a cap on the number of runners. It's a really neat course that we've laid out. We're going to begin at the Edenville Winery on Voorhees Road, the old Voorhees Mansion. Right. We'll begin there, and the race starts at 7 in the morning. And we're going to take them out through Namas's property is next door, and they've graciously opened it up so we have enough room to set the course. And so it's going to be a grassy, they're going to mow all the course for us. Okay. So it's going to be a short grassy run in the cool under the trees, and down around the ponds and through the orchards and the vineyards, and it's going to be a nice cool morning run, 5K, 10K, whichever you're up for. So it's going to be a nice, beautiful run.
What do they do? How do they get signed up for it?
RedemptionRidge.com.
Okay.
There's an events tab at the top. You'll see the run and dinner event, and they can sign up for a run, and they're going to end up getting one of these nice sport tote bags here with the Redemption Ridge logo on it. I don't know if you can show that there.
Yeah, there you go.
It's a great little sport tote, and all the runners will end up with one of those. And then dinner that evening, there at the Edenville Winery at the Voorhees Mansion, we're going to have Quality Catering, which is Cafe Déjeuner over on Main Street. Right. Great food. Going to have it catered in that evening. And we're going to have Jim Williams, who is a Medford detective, come and share, along with Rebecca Bender, who many know. Jim Williams is going to actually, I talked with him a couple days ago. He has an open case right now where some girls from out of the area were picked up here. It was a trafficking issue, and now they're investigating it. And because they're from out of the area, you know, change the names and not. But he's going to be able to actually share what they're learning in this case and what's going on in that case. So.
Well, let me encourage you, RedemptionRidge.com, and be a part of the run, the dinner. If you can, sign up, be a part of it, support this, take a look at it, if the Lord's moving on your heart to get more involved, and it really takes a moving of the Lord in your heart to do this, it's amazing how Terry and others can use your help, and you can be a part of really something that's very unique and life-changing. And I think it's just wonderful. I can't wait till you announce the house and everything's ready to go. So I know you got to keep that under wraps for now, but you are definitely in the process of that.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so sign up for the run coming up. Let's see, a week from Saturday.
Yes.
And that'll be August 3rd, and a beautiful run. And then if you can, support it by going to the dinner, and that's redemptionridge.com. Well, Terry, thank you, and let's stay in touch with this. This is so important and so incredible. I just commend you for obeying the tug to go for it.
Well, I appreciate you being here to help us get it going as well.
Yeah. All right, thanks. We'll see you next time.
Thanks.
We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Paulina, and I work at theDove TV. Did you know that when you support theDove TV, you have a profound impact, not only in our community, but around the world? It's your continued support that takes the inspiration and hope in the programs we produce and makes them available to the thousands of people who are watching these videos online every week. Help bring encouragement and hope to our valley and beyond by making a secure online donation today at our website, thedove.us.
Well, I think you will agree that our country right underneath our nose is being fundamentally changed, and we're quite upset about it, and we're somewhat in shock about it. And can anything be done about it is the constant question that we hear. I'm delighted to have with us today Donald Devine. He's the Vice Chairman of the American Conservative Union, a senior scholar at the Fund for American Studies, the author of several books, and I want to talk to him today about how America can find its way back from Obamaland. So, Donald, nice to have you with us, friend.
Well, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, this is great. I think, as I said earlier, we're all just sitting here watching this transformation of our beloved country in a state of shock, and it just doesn't seem to stop. Can we turn this thing around?
Sure we can. What we have to do is turn back to the Constitution. You know, our founders told us how to run the government, but we passed that thing, and we've been trying to run away from it ever since. I mean, we've got to go back to the essentials, which really come from all of Western civilization. The idea that the government is not everything. Go from the history of the caves, the first French caves thousands and thousands of years ago, right up until Caesar, everybody thought the government did everything. Those in authority did everything. But some little voice out in the boondocks of the Roman Empire said, no, I mean, Caesar isn't everything. There's another thing. It's called God and freedom and people and neighbor. We're losing that whole concept that built the Constitution, and there's only one way to deal with the problem. That's to get back to what made us great, and we're not doing it.
It appears, Donald, that that the Constitution is being violated every day, and we don't seem to be challenging those points. In fact, we'd almost have to ask ourselves, is the president guilty of abuse of powers as it relates to the Constitution? So if we don't enforce the Constitution, how can we get back to the Constitution?
Well, the Constitution gives us one great thing. It's called elections. Every 2 years we get a chance to change everything. Or 4 years with the president, 6 years with the Senate. I mean, the wonderful document allows us to make changes. We don't have to put up with this. The problem is, you know, we allow this progressive philosophy that started seeping into America in the early 20th century, we've allowed that to take the place of our basic traditions. And as long as we don't challenge that view of the Constitution and oversimplify it, but truthful is that the judges say what the Constitution means. That's totally unconstitutional in the thinking of the founders, and we give the government too much authority. You know, it was very interesting in the gay marriage decision. Kennedy was more conservative than not. What was his reason for saying that you had to treat equally under it? It was what he pointed to 1,000 references in the federal government related to marriage in terms of giving benefits to one group or another. Well, once we give the government all of these powers, 1,000 times deciding what marriage is and what benefits it gets, when we give that power to the federal government, we've given it up. Now, we gave it up for good reasons. We want them to do good things here and there. But, you know, the Constitution is very simple. You read the 10th Amendment. What we have, what the Constitution doesn't give directly to the national government is left to the states or the people. And if we don't get back to that understanding, we just can't run the government. The biggest progressive expert on public administration in the country, his name is Paul Light. He's at New York University. He says the federal government can no longer faithfully execute its laws, quoting from the Constitution. We can't execute this behemoth up there. We give it all these things to do. It can't do it. I was in charge of the bureaucracy for the first 4 years of Reagan's term. I know from personal experience, my book shows this in great detail. You cannot run everything from Washington. It's a physical impossibility. As my boss Ronald Reagan used to say, we're not cutting government to save money. Not primarily.
Right.
We're cutting government to return power to the states and the people. I mean, the reason he was so successful, he understood what the Constitution was and set out over 8 years to do it, and in fact did do it.
You know what's so interesting about this? At the moment, it appears that we are outnumbered because those who are now in control of government believe in big government and want to empower it even more to the point of bankruptcy. Those of us who believe in limited government and personal responsibility and self-government at the moment seem to be outnumbered. In the meantime, the damage is being done. Can we unwrite some of this stuff? I mean, one of the classics that we're facing, as you well know, Donald, everybody's still calling for the ouster of Obamacare, but it's law, so could they stop it from being implemented?
Obamacare, this is my expertise is managing government. Obamacare is going to fall apart. It cannot work. You know, the government can do some simple things. Whether it should do it or not is a different question. But it can send checks out to people like it does with Social Security. That's a simple thing. Anybody can sit down and write checks to people. But doing something complicated about running 1/6 of the economy, which deals with people's health, their safety, I mean, this is a preposterous problem, and we already see the president has delayed it for a year so he can get past the next election. For the first time, 3 heads of major unions have criticized the president, saying that we made a mistake on this thing and it won't work. Sure, it's a mess, and sure, it's going to be hard to fix this thing. But I think, in fact, it isn't going to be conservatives, it isn't going to be Republicans, it's going to be Democrats who are going to delay this thing forever, basically. They know it can't work. They know we can't afford it. More importantly, we know that the mechanism that it uses, poor old Sarah Palin got so much trouble. Now everybody talks about, they don't call them death panel, but the panels that decide the way we're going to save money is to cut health care for people. Well, that isn't quite the way we want it to happen, or were promised that it would happen. This is going to fall apart unless the Republicans are quadruple stupid. They should use this in this 2014 election. I wouldn't be surprised they got bigger control of the House and finally took back the Senate.
Well, you know, looking back a little bit, as you know, there was a Tea Party surge and turnover of the House in 2010, and then they turn around and lose the presidency in 2012. Is there enough momentum out there to return back to constitutional thinking in 2014 to take back the House and the Senate?
Well, the problem is that we elected a guy who was we nominated, Republicans nominated a guy who was unelectable. He was a good man. He did many good things, but he put in Obamacare in Massachusetts. So how could we possibly run and win a presidential race with a guy who did exactly what Obama wanted to do? I mean, again, he's a good man, but, you know, having a business chief executive, that isn't what people want. They want someone that can relate to them. I mean, we couldn't, Republicans could not have picked a weaker candidate. That's why we lost.
Well, okay, so I think most of us understand exactly what you're talking about in returning to a constitutional government. But this isn't going to be easy, and there seems to be so many violations. It would appear to me that somehow we would have to make something out there constitutionally stick. And the one that flies in the face at the moment is the president operating constitutionally? I mean, he got Obamacare through. It's a law. Now he is imperialistically preempting that law for political benefits. Isn't that in itself a abuse of powers and certainly no balance of powers?
Well, I mean, the president can only get away with what Congress lets him get away with. I mean, the Constitution does give a lot of leeway to the president. He may be doing some illegal things. We don't know for sure yet. I mean, he certainly uses executive power to the maximum, but not especially more than a lot of Republicans have done in the past. The problem is that we give the federal government too much power, and it's not one party. I mean, George W. Bush was a very good man, but George W. Bush was a progressive, the same philosophy as the present president. Obviously not on moral issues, but I mean, he put in the brand new entitlement program that had an unfunded, at least at the time, was the estimate was the unfunded liability would be as big as Social Security. I mean, if we're having Republican presidents do that, I mean, the problem is us, not them. I mean, we can't control what Obama does, but we can hopefully expect our own leaders to understand what the Constitution's really about. There's nothing about having prescription drug benefits for the elderly in the Constitution. You can't find it there. Now, you can get a lot of professors to tell you that you can, well, move this around, this could mean that, but that whole philosophy is what gets us in problems, abortion to welfare to everything. I mean, it's the way of thinking that's the problem. I mean, in my opinion, it doesn't do any good to sit and complain about Obama. He's the president. The president can get away with a lot of stuff, especially when his party controls one house of the legislature. We want to do something about Obama? let's put a Republican majority in the Senate.
There you go.
I sometimes get frustrated with us. The president is given a lot of power in this Constitution, even from the founders on. But we're given ways to balance it.
And we're not enforcing that. Donald, I'm out of time, but let me just recap here. It's called "How Can We Find Our Way Back from Obamaland?" I'm assuming it's available online at Amazon and Barnes & Noble. They can check it out there. And
it's America's Way Back.
America's Way Back, right?
America's Way Back.
By Donald.
And it is at Barnes & Noble, right? And it's Amazon.
Okay. Yep. Thanks for your time, sir.
All right. Thank you for having me. Bye.
We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Daniel and I work at theDove TV. You know, compared to Portland, Seattle, and LA, Medford might be considered a small market, but at theDove, we're excited about the opportunity to make a big impact right here in our community. And you help make that happen. Did you know that more than 90% of our income comes from people like you? You can help us now by making a secure online donation at our website, thedove.us, or by phoning 541-776-5368.
Well, our next guest we've had before, and he's a lightning rod to say the least. Allyn Root is with us, and he's authored the book, The Ultimate Obama Survival Guide and How to Survive, Thrive, and Prosper During Obamageddon. Those two books ended up becoming bestsellers. And today he's kind of give us an update on both of those as we check in with Wayne. Well, today I am really honored to have back with us Allyn Root. He's well, we could call him a capitalist evangelist. He's an entrepreneur, libertarian, conservative Republican. I'll let him define that. He's an author of some great books, The Ultimate Obama Survival Guide and Secrets to Protecting Your Family, Your Finances, and Your Freedom, and formerly vice presidential candidate under the Libertarian ticket. And what an honor to have him. He's a lot of energy. I don't know what he puts on his cereal in the morning, but I want some of it.
Hey, Perry, how are you?
Fine, man.
Hey, you know, I do business speeches all around the world, and I call it my positive addictions. When people ask how I get this fountain of energy that I've got, this fountain of youth that I think I've got, because I just turned 52 on Saturday, and I feel like I'm 21, and I've got the energy of a 21-year-old. And the answer is that I have a faith in God, I have a faith in family, and I have a faith in myself, and I try and work out every single day and eat healthy and pop 100 vitamin pills. So I think all of those help, don't you?
God and vitamins. Doesn't get any better than that. That's great. Hey, Wayne, nice to have you. Hey, listen, I happened to catch the segment on MSNBC where Rachel was pretty much raking you over the coals for being a birther and anything else that she tried to call you. It's amazing how the left press protects the president. What's your response to what happened to you on that experience?
Well, I already put out a great video and written response to Rachel Maddow. First of all, I'm not a birther. So that's the funniest thing of all. In my whole life, I've never brought up Obama's birth, and I've never brought up his birth certificate, ever. Not once in a single media interview, and I've done 5,000 of them in the last 5 years. But I've asked a lot of questions of Obama about his character, about his background, about his policies, about his agenda for America. And, you know, there was a liberal blogger in Nevada that started all this, whose name I wouldn't even mention. I wouldn't even give him the publicity.
Good.
But he started all this and called me a prominent birther. And when my lawyer literally threatened to sue him for slander, his answer was, anyone who questions Obama's background as a birther, it doesn't matter if that question involves his birth. Can you believe the way liberals move the ball down the road? Doesn't even matter now. The word birth and birther is immaterial to a liberal. If you even ask a question of the president's background, no matter what it is, you're a birther, which happens to rhyme, by the way, with murderer. Yeah. So I think there's a reason for all that. It's called Saul Alinsky. He wrote the book called Rules for Radicals that Obama lives by. It happens to be dedicated to the devil, by the way. Right. On page 1, the book is dedicated to Lucifer. You wouldn't believe this stuff. You know, if I told you it was on a Saturday Night Live skit, you'd say it was too preposterous, but it really is true. That's Obama's favorite book, dedicated to the devil. And it says the ends justify the means. If someone's a critic or an outspoken enemy of yours, destroy him, because your goal is to socialize America, and you cannot fail. So the ends justify the means. Slander him, destroy him, discredit him, whatever you have to do, slime him. And that's what Rachel Maddow did. That's what Piers Morgan was trying to do on CNN. That's what Jon Stewart on The Daily Show tried to do to me. That's what Mother Jones Magazine tried to do to me. That's what hundreds of liberal bloggers are trying to do to me. They're all trying to discredit me, but guess what? You know what it means? It means I'm getting too close to the truth, and they're scared to death of what I'm saying, Perry.
All right. Now, part of this, as you well know, Wayne, the birth of the digital age has shrunk the ratings of some of the mainline press down, but that doesn't take from the fact that they're still very impacting. They still have influence. When you look at all the ratings, it looks like the conservative side of cable news outdoes the liberal side, but the Democrats continue to win, and they continue to influence, and it looks like the president's pedal to the metal with this nonsense.
Well, and they got to change the conversation, because you can't base it on facts. Liberals hate facts. I learned that 20 years ago when Rush Limbaugh became a star, and there was people out there who wrote books saying Rush Limbaugh is fat. And you're like, wait a minute. The fact that he's overweight has nothing to do with the fact he's telling the truth and he's giving us facts, but they can't deal in facts, so they personally attack you. And it's the same thing. You know, as of late last week, what did Obama do? He had an impromptu press conference about Trayvon Martin, the George Zimmerman Trayvon Martin case. Wait a minute. The United States is in a disastrous financial economic situation right now. All the statistics that come out show we're headed for a total epic collapse. And it's all caused by Obama's policies. And he's trying to change the subject. He's got an IRS scandal that threatens to take him down. This could be impeachment. We proved as of late last week that the top appointee on the IRS, one of only 2 appointed IRS executives by the president, was meeting with the president 2 days before they decided to go after Tea Parties and the IRS tried to destroy his political opponents. This all heads right back to the president. This is how you get impeached. But see, he wanted to change the topic to Trayvon Martin. On the same day, Detroit went bankrupt with the same policies as Obama. And then we know about Benghazi and AP and James Rosen, the reporter at Fox News, and Kathleen Sebelius' extortion of healthcare companies, and Fast and Furious. The list goes on and on. Obama is surrounded by scandal, corruption, disastrous failure, and he wants to change the topic and stir up racial hate in America so he gets out of the headlines. Isn't that interesting, Perry? Not a coincidence.
Well, the Trayvon Martin thing gave him the perfect topic to go back to his base. But you know what's so interesting about that? He's done nothing for the blacks in this country. In fact, he's put them again in the back of the bus while he put the homosexuals in the front of the bus. But this was the perfect storm for him to rally his base, and he took advantage of that. But you know, Wayne, here's what's really got me concerned now. It appears, in spite of all the issues, and there's a lot of them out there, and I know you fight for the same ones I do, now religious freedom is in trouble in America under this administration if we don't stop it.
Look, Perry, everything good in this country is under attack, whether it's marriage, whether it's religious freedom, whether it's Christianity, whether it's Judeo-Christian values, whether it's our shared love of Israel. I happen to be a Jew turned evangelical Christian. So, of course, we all know we're under attack. This president is so subtle. He's brilliant. You know, in my new book, The Ultimate Obama Survival Guide, and let me take one second to divert for a minute and just say something good that I'm so proud of. Do you know my book hit #1 national bestseller in the whole country at bookstores around America? And for the last year, it's only been out 4 months, by the way, but for the last 12 months, it's the 4th best-selling hardcover political book in America.
Congratulations.
And it's because it tells the truth. It tells the truth. You know, we're off the rails. We don't have money for keeping illegal felon immigrants in prison. We don't have money for air traffic controllers, so people wait in 3-hour lines for a little while there. We don't have money for fireworks displays and military bases. We don't have money to keep pools open for the families of the military at military bases. But we have money to give $500 million to the Palestine Authority. We have money to give $1 billion in military aid to the Muslim Brotherhood of Egypt that hates us and wants to kill America and destroy Israel. We have money to pledge $7 billion to Africa. Not American black Americans, but Africans in Tanzania to double their electricity access. We have $100 million so Obama can travel to Africa and wave in the streets on Barack Obama Boulevard. It's all too much to believe, Perry, how off the walls the United States of America is and how far away we're moving from Judeo-Christian values and patriotism and American exceptionalism under a president who obviously dislikes all of that, even though he's the president of this great United States of America.
Well, we got a couple of minutes left, Wayne. Can we turn it around? Can we take it back? I mean, I believe that everything's possible with God.
Well, everything and anything is possible with God, but I didn't write my book, The Ultimate Obama Survival Guide, with ideas to turn around America. I wrote it with an idea to turn around your own life. In other words, even as Obama takes the country downhill for another 3.5 years, we could turn it around 3.5 years from now by electing a great president. We could turn it around in 2014 by electing a Republican Senate, but I didn't want to write a book about that. That's out of my hands. What's in your hands is the ability to turn your personal life and your personal finances around, because if the country's going under economically, or certainly in major decline economically, and there are no jobs, you need to protect your family and your finances so you can continue to be a good Christian, you can continue to donate and tithe to the right organizations and causes, and you can continue to contribute to Republican conservative candidates that will help you take this country back. So I gave an 18-point plan that anyone can use to protect themselves and to protect their family and protect their assets, protect your job, and build a new career that makes you some money, even while Obama purposely takes down the U.S. economy. That's what I wrote about in The Ultimate Obama Survival Guide.
All right, let me encourage you to check it out. You can do that at Barnes & Noble or certainly online at Amazon.com, and that's Wayne Allyn Root, R-O-O-T, and there's a copy of it there. You can take a look at it, and it really is a great resource, so check it out at Barnes & Noble or online at Amazon.com. Well, listen, I only got a couple seconds left, but what's ahead for you? What do you feel like God's telling you?
Well, I'm a capitalist evangelist and a serial entrepreneur, so I'll continue to be a businessman and run all my businesses and be a spokesman for companies around the world and speak at companies around the world about business and capitalism. And maybe, Perry, in 2016, I may take a run at the United States Senate as a Republican here in Nevada against U.S. Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid. That's what I'm aiming for. We'll see if the stars align, and if God favors it, then that may be my next political outpost.
All right. Hey, thanks, man. Love your energy. Love your work. Let's stay in touch, and we'll have you back soon.
Thanks, Perry. God bless.
All right. God bless. Well, I don't know what he puts on his cereal in the morning, but I want some of it. All right, coming up next, well, hey, we are delighted to have back with us Ted Shoebat, and we're going to be talking about his book, For God or For Tyranny, coming up next here on Focus Today.
Hi, I'm Paula, and I work at theDove TV. Every day we get letters and emails from people who've been encouraged, blessed, and challenged by the programs on theDove TV. But we couldn't do it without you. Did you know that more than 90% of our income comes from people like you? You can help us continue to bring inspiration and hope to our community by making a secure online donation at our website, thedove.us, or call us at 541-776-5368.
Always a delight to have our next guest back with us today. Ted Shoebat's back with us, and he's authored, well, his first book was called Satan's Footprints, and then followed up now with For God or For Tyranny. And let me encourage you to check it out online at Amazon or Barnes & Noble, and you may even check it out to see if it's available at Evangel. Ted, nice to have you back. How you doing, my friend?
Good to be on, sir. How are you doing, sir?
Hey, doing great. Well, listen, we've been all watching with great curiosity all of the stirrings in the Middle East, yes, and in particular what's happening in Egypt and Syria and Iraq. Hey, is this place, is this unsettlement, could it possibly lead to some form of democracy?
I think it's pretty conclusive. That's a big and definite no. We're beyond the hopes of the leftists of the country, or the progressives of this country and of Europe, who were sitting there talking as though the Enlightenment movement was rising out of the minds of the Middle East. Talking about the Middle East here, thousands of years they've lived under tyranny and dictatorship. So there's no possible hopes that they're just all of a sudden going to change today. If you look at the Middle East, it's only getting worse, even after they have gotten rid of Mohammed Morsi in the so-called coup that happened a number of months ago. Because if you think about it...
Uh-oh. Okay, let me, we got a little bit of a Skype issue there. We'll get it straightened out here in just a moment. Let me again just encourage you to check out his book. It's called For God or For Tyranny. By the way, he is the son of Wallace Shoebat, who we've had on before as well. And Wallace got an interesting testimony. He's a former PLO terrorist. And of course, now Ted comes along with his own expertise in the Middle East. We get you back there? There you are.
What happened? I'm sorry about that.
No problem.
But we should be good now.
Okay.
But what I was saying was that the Middle East is not getting any better, even after the fact that they got rid of Mohammed Morsi. You have to understand that getting rid of Mohammed Morsi simply enraged, very much so, the Islamists, the Salafists, and the members of the Muslim Brotherhood. So what you have now is you have this huge divide, the ousting out of Morsi, kicking out the coup against Morsi, that simply made the divide between the secularists and the Islamists much more conspicuous, more obvious. Now what you have is great foreshadowing events taking place in the country that lead us to believe there's going to be a civil war in this in Egypt. You're going to have the Islamists and the Egyptians, the Islamists and the secular Egyptians killing each other. They're already doing it right now. We look at Cairo every single day. 40 people killed, 50 people killed, 12, a dozen people, 15, 20 people killed because they're secularists or because they don't agree with the Ikhwan, the Muslim Brotherhood. So, another good thing to point out is that when this civil war does occur, because all indications lead us to believe that it will,
right?
It's going to be much worse in Syria, because we've been looking at footage from Syria and thinking, man, this is really bad. They call it bloody and violent. Cannibalism and rape and killing and human sacrifices has been occurring in Syria. But if you look at Syria, a lot smaller population than Egypt. Egypt, you're talking about 90 million people. It's one of the largest countries in the Middle East.
Wow.
So 90 million people, pretty much all of them are armed. You're talking about the Second Amendment in the Middle East style. So it's much worse. They're all armed, and they're all on the verge of killing each other sporadically. So
what would a Christian do there? I mean, should they get out until this thing settles down? I know we got Coptic Christians in there. You got some missionaries in there. Boy, that's got to be dangerous and hotspot.
Well, a huge amount of the Copts have already left Egypt, but the problem is that the only ones who have left are the ones who have the means to get out of the country and go into Europe or the United States. The poor people are still there, and there's a lot of them. There's a substantial amount of Copts still living there, and they are absolutely helpless. And the rich don't care for their own people. They just want to save their own skin. And here's the thing also is, I remember not so long ago, a few months ago, and also last year, I talked about human sacrifice and cannibalism in the Muslim world. And after the fact that after the Muslim Brotherhood took over Egypt, the greatest of all Islamic universities, Al-Azhar University, decreed that it is okay for a Muslim to kill an enemy of Allah and eat his flesh, just as long as it's not cooked.
Wow.
And they said that the university, the same university, put this in the high school curriculum. So a month after, about a month or so after Al-Azhar University did this, there was a footage that leaked from Syria showing a rebel eating the lung of an enemy soldier, a government soldier. Now I remember I was one of the first to post this video out there, and anyone can find it. It's online. And I remember saying, you're going to see more of this. So just a few months ago, I reported that a gang of Syrian rebels, all members of the Free Syrian Army, came into a Christian village, the population of which was about 70 or 80 people. I mean, it's a very small village. But there was a good amount of Christians living there. And they said that whoever does not convert to Islam may live as long as they pay the jizya tax, or the tax that is placed upon non-Muslims. If they refuse to pay the jizya tax, then they will be ritually human sacrificed. And I posted this, that's all the evidence is there. So they're saying now that, and I don't know if anyone watching or you guys saw the video of what happened to Father Francois Morad,
yes,
who was a Franciscan
right.
monk, priest who lived in Syria. He was beheaded by the Free Syrian Army. To the Muslims, to the fundamentalist Muslims who killed this man, this technically was a human sacrifice, because in Islam they believe that if you slay the blood, spill the blood of a Christian, it propitiates or it pleases Allah technically as a human sacrifice, because unlike Christians, they don't believe in the sacrifice of Jesus. So once you reject the sacrifice of Jesus, then you begin to do other sacrifices.
Right, right.
Because you are under that demonic influence, you will begin to take away human life. Because as the proverb says, all those who hate God love death.
Yeah. Ted, let me fast forward this a little bit. Can you, from your perspective, background, interest, and study, tell us what our current foreign policy is with the United States as it relates to the Middle East?
It's very. I think we all have an idea. It's very corrupt, for one thing, and we all know that from the Benghazi scandal, of course, but also from the fact that what took place. I think I talked about this in a former interview. What took place in Sudan, right, when you had the Muslim Brotherhood Party being rebelled against. You had an attempted revolution by people in North Sudan against Omar al-Bashir. And Obama visited the president of South Sudan, Salva Kiir, and said very angrily, this was reported by the Council of Foreign Relations, this is not some conspiracy theory, but Obama had a meeting with Salva Kiir, the president of South Sudan, and very angrily told him to stop funding this revolution. This was going on as Obama was helping the revolution in Syria and in Egypt, and he still is supporting the revolution in Syria. Now, here's the thing. When I first read that story, I always wondered why Obama did that. What was in it for him to discourage a revolution in North Sudan against a real tyrant as opposed to Mubarak or Gaddafi or Bashar al-Assad? And I didn't know until a number of months ago we found out. My dad found out by translating certain documents on the internet, from the internet, that Obama's brother, Malik Obama, is heavily involved with Dawah Islamic Organization, which is an organization that aspires to destroy all Christianization in Africa. And as we speak, this same organization is ideologically warring with the Anglican Church in Kenya, where Obama's family lives. They want to get rid of it. And Obama's brother has meetings with Omar al-Bashir. They're very close friends, and they spoke together in several conferences in Africa, supporting the Dawah organization. And just today it was reported that Omar al-Bashir is now intensifying his crackdown on missionaries in North Sudan. And he said specifically that he wants to get rid of all Christianization, exactly what the Islamic Dawah organization wants to do. And Obama's brother is the head secretary of the Dawah Islamic organization. So he's high up there in the movement. Wow. It's not like he's just a minor member. Wow. Listen, we're going to run out of time here. How do people get a hold of your blogs and you and correspond with you? Yeah. Oh, of course. Shoebat.com is SHOEBAT, shoe and bat put together, .com. And then also you can get me on Facebook, just Facebook, my name, Theodore Shoebat, Twitter also, and the name of the book is called For God or For Tyranny, and they can get that off Amazon.com. All right, one last question. I got about a minute here. You wrote an interesting article, I Miss Saddam. I started reading that article and I realized, you know what, it's a two-edged sword. Yeah, oh, absolutely. You know, yeah, Saddam was the perfect leader for that country. Iraq is the Wild West. It's a crazy place. Yeah. And you need a crazy leader to rule that country. So a government is a reflection of the people, the nature of the people. So Saddam was an adequate leader for that nation. As brutal as you think he is, Saddam would be a terrible leader for the United States because we're not fit for a leader like that. Yeah. But the Iraqi people are, as simple as that. It's just not something we have to accept when we're studying the other parts of the world. And so when you look at Iraq now that you got rid of them, it's much worse. You have mob rule. Yeah. Because you have all of these jihadists. That's an interesting twist to that. Hey, Ted, thanks. Let's stay in touch, have you back. And again, it's called For God or For Tyranny. Check it out at Amazon or online at Amazon or Barnes & Noble. Thanks, my friend. Best to you, and say hi to your dad, okay? I will, sir. God bless you. Bye-bye. God bless you. We'll see you next time on Focus Today.
Hi, I'm Jim and I work at theDove TV. Every weekday between 6 and 8 a.m., our award-winning news and sports team bring you the best morning show around. It's live, it's honest, and it's a whole lot of fun. And you help make it happen. Did you know that more than 90% of our income comes from people like you? You can help us continue to air local programs that share your voice by making a secure online donation at our website, theDove.us.